We have a name for our evil organisation. It's Dumbledore's Army, Brilliant Event Part 2 Dialogue. Welcome to the storyline for the Dumbledore's Army Brilliant Event Part 2. Obviously, spoilers ahead. Important for the story, you need to know what the foundables are. So we have Brilliant Dumbledore's Army, Duelling Dummy, Brilliant Luna Lovegood, Dobby, Dumbledore's Army coins. Now, if you've only watched the movie, you're not going to know what the coins are, but basically Dumbledore's Army used the coins to secretly send messages to each other as to when the Dumbledore's Army were meeting up. And finally, Luna Lovegood's hair Patronus. Okay, so on to part 2. Intro. Constance. Harry, we're receiving reports that a surge has returned. Considering it seems to be related to Dumbledore's Army, I take it you were able to maintain control over the surge's direction. Harry. Yes, but just barely. Whoever is trying to manipulate the Calamity fought hard to regain their hold over it between surges. If I didn't know any better, I'd swear there were hints of desperation, even fear in their magic. Constance. If Hermione's theory about their surge being absorbed into yours is true, then isn't it a good thing that they're resisting? After all, the more memories of theirs we have access to, the easier it'll be to identify them. Then again, it's equally possible that Lethifold and Barkheist know we're onto them, and this is an elaborate trap designed to trick us into believing we have the upper hand. Harry. This may very well be the case. Even so, this is the first real lead we've had in a while. We have a duty to pursue it. So now moving on to the image placements. The Dumbledore's Army Dueling Dummy. Hermione. The removal requirement provided us dummies like this one to practice our offensive spells on. Whenever we destroy one, another one would always take its place. Back then I naively believed that once we defeated Voldemort, that would be the end of the dark arts. Now I realise that what Snape said about them in the first Newt level Defense Against Dark Arts class is true. The dark arts are like a many-headed monster. When you sever one head, another does sprout in its place. Just like how a new training dummy would appear whenever we destroy one. Fortunately, my time in Dumbledore's Army and the SOS Task Force has also taught me that there will always be people willing to stand up and fight against evil. That's us. We should take solace in that fact. Brilliant Brilliant young Luna Lovegood. Hermione. Luna Lovegood, a former member of Dumbledore's Army, sent me an owl. Apparently, she has a memory similar to Neville and Lee's. In it, a wizard cloaked in a hooded robe warns that the unforgivable are everywhere. Now, interestingly, a Lethifold kind of looks like it's a person in a big cloak. Interesting. That's probably why they're called Lethifold. But I think they're actually a real person. Constance. The unforgivable? What's that? Hermione. I wish I could tell you, but a thorough search of the Ministry's records turns out nothing. Constance. Well, whoever they are, I think it's safe to assume this message is a threat. Hermione. I'm inclined to agree with you, but Luna seems to think otherwise. She said the wizard sounded scared, not malicious. According to her, this isn't so much a threat as a warning. This sounds like the same wizard that is the one being tortured and trying to make them take the unbreakable vow. Dobby! Harry! When I first met Dobby, well, quite frankly, I thought of him as a nuisance. As the years went on, however, Dobby became not just a valuable ally, but one of my truest, most loyal friends. Whenever I visit his grave, I bring him a new pair of socks, so he knows how much he's missed. Oh, poor Dobby. I still think Dobby shouldn't have died. Anyway, Dumbledore's Army coins. Constance. Harry, is this the same coin you display on your desk? Harry. That's right. Hermione created these coins so I could discreetly communicate with the rest of Dumbledore's Army. See the numbers around the edge? I changed them to reflect the date and time of our next meeting. Rather ingenious, isn't it? Constance. Indeed, it's also rather sweet how you still use them to communicate with other members. Harry. What are you talking about? Most of us have held on to them, yes, but we haven't used them in years. Constance. Then why was the date on Dumbledore's Army coin foundable we returned set for just days from now? Luna Lovegood's hair Patronus. Constance. I must admit, after returning nothing but foundables of dark wizards, witches, and artifacts last surge, returning foundables that aren't trying to kill me has been rather refreshing. Harry. That's actually why I chose to center this surge on my memories of Dumbledore's Army. I thought my happy memories could become a shield against the darkness, much like how Patronus is a shield against Dementors and Lethifolds. Funny how he mentions Lethifolds. Constance, I assume you are simply feeling nostalgic. Harry. Perhaps it's a bit of both. Oh yes, we have a mysterious note. First piece. Constance. We found another fragment of a note. I can't make out its contents yet, but it appears to be addressed to you, Harry. I don't suppose you're going through a particularly introspective phase and wrote this letter to yourself. Harry. I'm afraid not. I don't recognise the handwriting either. Constance. Hermione, did you theorise that elements of the surge you interrupted might have been absorbed into yours? I bet my wand that this note is one of them, which means... Harry. Whoever's been manipulating Calamity is trying to reach out to me specifically. Constance, tell the members of the SOS Task Force to prioritise recovering the rest of this note. It's imperative we find out what they want. Fifth piece, Constance. We've only reassembled half the note, yet its contents are already shocking, to say the least. The author, who admits to having created the surge you intercepted to get your attention, claims to be part of a cabal of dark wizards and witches called the Unforgivable. If this letter is to be believed, they are not only the ones responsible for the Calamity's dark turn, they've been involved with the Calamity since the beginning. Harry, that's quite the confession. If true, it certainly raises a lot of questions about the Calamity. Lethfold and Bargheist and Grimfall role in it all, doesn't it? Constance. If being the key word, I'm convinced this is a load of codswallop intended to throw us off the real trail. Why else would they be telling us all of this? Harry. Good question. Perhaps we'll receive an answer when we find the missing pieces of that note. Final piece. Constance. Interesting. Looks like we've gotten an answer as to why our mysterious pen friend was being so chatty. Apparently, they're in a bad way with the Unforgivable's leadership. They want out, but fear too much for their safety just to leave. They're offering information on the Unforgivable's members and plans in exchange for your personal protection and a full pardon. If you agree to their terms, Harry, they say you should come to this address they've listed alone. They were very emphatic about that. Greengrass! Oh, now he turns up. Interesting, huh? Apologies for intruding, but I'd be remiss if I didn't chime in. You're not seriously considering going along with this, are you, Harry? It's obviously a trap. Constance. I have to agree. We have no reason to trust this witch or wizard. It's quite possible they're threatened by your ability to manipulate the Calamity, and this is all a ploy to get rid of you. Harry. I understand where you both come from, and appreciate your concern. However, if there's even a remote possibility this could allow us to end the Calamity and apprehend those responsible for it, then it's a risk I'm willing to take. The end. Dialogue. Hermione. Harry, thank Merlin you're safe. Constance told me about the letter. I can't believe you'd be so daft as to go and meet up with the author by yourself, knowing full well it could be a trap. Harry, what's the matter? You're awfully quiet. Normally at this point you'd be chiming in trying to defend your reckless behaviour. Harry. I was too late, Hermione. By the time I'd arrived at the meeting spot, the presumed informant's mind had been completely obliviated, to the point where he couldn't even remember his own name. The healers at St. Mungo's are doing what they can to try and restore his memory, but it isn't looking good. Hermione. How awful. Although I suppose it does lend some credibility to his claims that the cabal of dark wizards and which is called the Unforgivable are controlling and manipulating the Calamity, doesn't it? Harry. Hermione, as far as I'm concerned, this experience has made two things abundantly clear. First, that this mess goes beyond Grim Foley, Lethfold and Bargheist, and second, if we continue to stand in this group's way, it's only a matter of time before they come after us. So that's the end of part 2 dialogue. Okay, so what we learned so far. So the person who started part 1 was desperate and scared as Harry was trying to take control of the surge. Constance believes it's Lethfold and Bargheist at this point. Luna Lovegood gets an implanted memory at this time. We now have a name for our dark third party called the Unforgivable. So yes, that is the name I had to kind of hint at in the title. Naturally, Harry can't find any reference in the Ministry records, but given that the Grim Man prophecy, the Daily Prophet, and all that sort of stuff are missing from the records anyway, it suggests that something fishy is going on. Or at least suggests that the Unforgivable are in the Ministry. So again, it looks like the person who started the first surge is scared and issues the warning, the Unforgivable are everywhere. Now with the coin set to a few days from now, it's not clear from the dialogue if this refers to the meeting date or to something else. So there may be something else in the pipeline, but I think it's probably the meeting date. So with the note information, we now have a secret faction of dark wizards and witches we now know as the Unforgivable. This cabal has been involved in the Calamity from the beginning. And of course, just as our team are talking about meeting with the defector from the Unforgivable, Gareth Greengrass just happens to turn up. Of course, this doesn't end well for our informant's friend, who ends up obliviated and losing their memory. Gee, I wonder who did that, Gareth, as he was the only one in the room. So it looks like stuff is hitting the fan. It's going to be an interesting December. So I love how the story is actually finally progressing and get some real momentum behind it. It sounds like Harry and co think it's Grim, Letherfold, and Bargheist, rather than Bargheist being Grim, but we'll let that one fly. So I do wonder if Letherfold is the informant. I'm thinking yes, purely because Letherfold is writing to Bargheist, and that was in the Darkness Rising, where the surges started to get dark. So it seems that was all related. So I'm pretty sure Letherfold is the informant that has been obliviated. So finally, after 2 videos and lots of teasing on Twitter, here is my theory as to how everything goes together. Okay, so here's my current theory. Right from the beginning. The London Five were made up of a number of ministry employees and one daily profit reporter. Now, Grimm's wife, Penelope, was of course one of the 5 from the ministry. So perhaps they discovered the unforgivable. Perhaps they found out who they were. Penelope was an author after all, and it's their job to go after dark wizards. Now, as the unforgivable have people up high in the ministry, I'm guessing that their only way forward was to meet with a daily profit reporter and get everything out in the open. However, they were discovered during the meeting and their whereabouts are now unknown. Now, the investigation to find the London Five was shut down after a couple of years by Gareth Greengrass. Many fingers now point to him being part of the unforgivable, though of course it could also be Constance, because they were both in the room, or both of them, or maybe Gareth Imperious Constance. Grimm then discovers the Foundable's spell and then tries to communicate with Penelope. If Grimm can summon a Foundable of Penelope from the time of the London Five meeting, he may be able to find out what happened to them. Of course, the unforgivable learn of this plot. Perhaps Letherfold was sent to befriend Grimm in order for the unforgivables to seize control of the spell for their own use. Letherfold and Grimm then work together on the Foundable's spell. The unforgivable then imprison Grimm when the spell is triggered. Letherfold has a change of heart over time and is subsequently tortured for their sympathies towards Grimm. The unforgivable hold Grimm because they want to use the Foundable spell to bring back Voldemort, Bellatrix, etc. from the past, from a time before they were killed to rule again. Hence why the Foundable spell brings people from different points in time, right? So they probably need Grimm's help to be able to do this. Is why Grimm's still alive but held captive. The calamity is actually the Foundable spell either malfunctioning because perhaps Grimm and Letherfold were interrupted when they were captured, or a result of the unforgivable trying to use the spell for their own gain. It would explain Letherfold's note to Grimm, Bargheist, in this case we were assuming, about using the artifact from Borgin and Burks to bring them back, assuming this is referring to the London Five. Of course, it could also refer to Voldemort and Bellatrix, but that would be somewhat of a different story, different theory. But I'm going with this one. Letherfold, now without Grimm and having the artifact, now want to leave the unforgivable and partner with Harry and use the artifact to free Grimm and bring back the London Five and possibly bring down the unforgivable. However, Greengrass, being an unforgivable, obliviated the informant, possibly Letherfold, before Harry got there. Of course, Greengrass being at the meeting where this was all happened to be mentioned. Actually, I think Greengrass has imperioed Constance, and then she gets Greengrass to just appear at the right time to listen in on all the interesting things which are going on. So that's my carrot theory. It seems to hold up to me. Let me know if I find any major pitfalls. I guess it's one of the things, prove me wrong things, in the comments below.
What's up, magical people? Okay, editing Zealman here. Now, I shot this video at the same time a while ago now. And after I shot the video, a little message came through in my Discord from who's like a chief data miner person for the Resist series, and we talk about a, weirdly, Hogwarts Mystery, which I stopped playing a while ago. But there is a cabal of dark wizards mentioned in Hogwarts Mystery called R. Now, if we look at the Harry Potter Wiki fandom page doofer, R, also known as the Cabal, was an enigmatic and powerful organisation that was active in the 20th century. Shrouded in mystery and operating largely in complete secrecy, while little was known about its origins and motives, and even though the identities of its members was largely unknown, it was eventually discovered that it consisted of a group of dark wizards that dealt in the illicit acquisition of arcane knowledge, magical artifacts, and unlocking the path to immortality, and whose ruthless pursuit for power had given rise to various clandestine operations around the world, some of which they carried out through coercion, torture, and murder. Now, there's definitely torture going on. They're also known to have had sufficient political influence to facilitate the continued concealment of their unlawful activities, having at some point successfully infiltrated the Ministry of Magic in London and been able to search for the defabled, cursed vault for more than half a decade before the Ministry even received their first reports that the Cabal existed, at which point its infiltrators at the Ministry even ordered a Dementor to leave its post in Azkaban and attack Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry without being discovered. Following the fall of the Dark Lord, they permitted former Death Eaters to join their ranks. So perhaps it is a reincarnation of this Cabal. Actually gave themselves a name, finally. So anyway, back to past me.
So how does this make you feel? What do you think about this event so far and how the storyline is going? Let me know in the comments below. Don't forget to like this video if you like and subscribe because it really helps support the channel. And also don't forget to follow me on Twitter and Instagram at the Zealman. That's about it for now. So brush your many spells, get your wands ready, Wizards Unite.